Hi everyone, this is my presentation on the community that I live in. The community I live in is called Warminster, Pennsylvania. We are a suburb of the major city of Philadelphia. We are located about 45 to 30 minutes outside of Philly, give or take traffic. So the next couple slides are going to be the demographics of Warminster, Pennsylvania. So you can just see here we're a town of about 32,000 people, which is down a little bit. The 32,000, as you can see, was from July 2018. That is down a little bit from 2010, but still a fairly decent sized community. This then breaks it down demographics a little bit by age and percentage of different age groups and things like that. So you can see females make up just a slight majority of the individuals that live there, and a good majority of the people in our community are over the age of 65 at 26%. And then here it breaks it up by race and Hispanic. You can see it's a primarily Caucasian community. 3% of the population are African American, 8% of the population are Hispanic, and 2% of the population are considered Asian. And then I thought this was interesting, just number of veterans in the community, 2,500, and then number of people who've immigrated to this country is at 10%. And then here this breaks down education, those with a high school graduate, bachelor's degree, or higher education. You can see it's a fairly well-educated community. The high school dropout rate here is pretty low, as you can see, with 90% of the individuals having a high school diploma. There's the median household income and other statistics on income and things like that. Okay, so some of the major institutions in Warminster. We are not, we don't have a ton of like big booming institutions in the town. There's not a hospital in Warminster. There's no college in Warminster or anything gigantic like that. We do have a couple of more main institutions that I'm going to highlight here. One of those is Ann's Choice, which is a retirement community. It's actually a 501c3 community organization, so that means it's a nonprofit. It's a major employer. It has 1,400 independent living apartments, according to its website, and it's located on 103 acres in Warminster. It's actually a really beautiful campus. Another major institution is the Centennial School District, which is the main school district for the city of Warminster. It's a very large employer, and there's many opportunities in the school for the youth that attend the schools, and tons of activities like through the school and also that extend into the community. It's also home to a lot of volunteer opportunities for community members. It has numerous partnerships with local businesses and things like that, and just tons of sports and clubs and things of that nature. This down here is actually a picture of one of the middle schools in the district. There are 2 middle schools and 3 or 4 elementary schools at this point, and 1 high school. Another major institution is good old Walmart. There's a really big Walmart located kind of in the heart of the town, and that's been there for over 20 years, as long as I can remember, and is a major employer for community members as well. Another major, I would guess this would be considered like a number of institutions, but we have an industrial park in Warminster, and that is home to several companies, Castrol Oil, Bestline, and a company called Grief, and also Bobcat has an office there. The one of the companies I wanted to highlight was Joe Fit, they make women's golf clothing. And the thing I like about this company is it's just a small business started by a Warminster woman who kind of saw a need for women's golf apparel. She was really into golfing. It's a hobby of hers, but she couldn't really ever find any like strictly women's golf attire. So she created a clothing line, and it's now the official sponsor of a couple different golf tournaments, according to its website. Another major institution is Nativity of Our Lord Catholic Church and School. So this is the largest Catholic school in Warminster and also the largest Catholic church in Warminster. It's been around for over 60 years, and the school has approximately 468 students, according to its website. So it's kind of an iconic church in the town. There's a number of other churches there. There's United Methodist Church. There's a Jehovah's Witness organization, and a United Church in Christ church as well. Okay. So here is a map of Warminster. So I thought this was a really interesting map. This kind of gives a rundown of some of the environmental issues that we might be encountering in Warminster. A couple years ago, I remember there was an issue with our water. We used to have military housing in Warminster. We were very close to the Willow Grove Naval Air Force Base. So the military housing for those families was actually in Warminster, and at some point in time there was an issue with water being contaminated in that area, and it affected the water source for the whole community. So there was a couple months in there where we were just told to be cautious. A lot of community meetings about it and things like that. I've lived in Warminster pretty much my entire life. I didn't live here for maybe 4 or 5 years. So I've been here for over 30. And that's the only major environmental issue I can ever recall being an issue in Warminster. Other than that, it's a pretty boring, in a good way, small town. And here's another map of the city that just kind of shows you where the borders are. We border a town called Warrington. We border and then we border another town over here on this line. And here, I believe one of the towns we border is Southampton. And we border like the Richboro area of Bucks County. So in doing the good community assessment, I would assess our community as a good community. A couple of the safety features that are in line with that thought process from the Ohio State Extension are that we're pretty much free of unnecessary hazards. There's not like unforeseen road hazards other than like your occasional like pothole that hasn't been filled. The air is relatively clean. There's safe places of employment. We do not have a lot of violent crimes. I could not tell you the last time that there was a violent crime in Warminster. Maybe 25 years ago. We don't have necessarily like a growing crime problem that I'm aware of. Sufficient law enforcement, sufficient first responders, things like that. So this picture is a very typical street in the town of Warminster, a typical neighborhood. This is a picture of one of our fire departments. We have a couple fire departments. They're typically smaller. This just has 2 engines. And then this is another shot of our community. This is, back in here is a golf course. It's a pretty big and area that people, go to for social events and things like that. We have access to goods and services, sufficient access to goods and services, and numerous options for goods and services. It seems like every piece of land is being built on whenever they can do that. I'd say there's also relationships in the community that bind citizens together. We have friendly neighborhoods, community events that bring people together. We have Warminster Day once a year that takes place at the local park. which showcases local businesses and local organizations and things like that. And I would say there's definitely just an overall cohesiveness to the community. We're definitely a community that comes together when things, when there's a crisis for somebody. Bradley Fox was a police officer killed in the line of duty in Plymouth Township several years ago, and I believe it was 2013. And his family is members of our community. So there's a race that goes through one of the main streets of the town every year to raise money for the Brad Fox organization. There have been events in the past. We had a young man, his name was Kyle Quinn. He passed away at Kutztown University about 10 years ago. He was killed there, and he was from Warminster, and a couple years later his sister got cancer, and the community really rallied around that whole entire family for both of those crises, just to help in any way they could. So definitely a cohesiveness and a closeness that I appreciate. I would say we are also a community that shares common goals and values. There's senses of community, like I talked about before, Warminster Day, and I think people feel a sense of, having common goals and values and things like that. Just a couple more pictures of our community. This is a local park. This is a war memorial here, which is actually right across the street from this park. And then this is another shot. This is actually looking towards one of the middle schools in the district, but there's this really pretty piece of farmland here. So just another shot of Warminster. Another thing that falls in line with the assessment is the whole person principle. I think this has probably somewhat changed over the years, as far as knowing people very well. I don't ever walk into a store and know the cash register. Or I'm sorry, the cashier. So I wouldn't say that, everybody knows everybody, but it's a small enough town that I think you still get that feel. It's a predictable environment for the most part. As I said before, during difficult times, community members come together, and most day-to-day happenings are pretty stable and can be counted on to stay that way. And then I would also say that we're not a diverse community, but there's certainly a sense of tolerance and acceptance and the understanding that people have a place. So that's something that I do appreciate of our community. This is a picture of our local library that I took. And then here's another picture. This is just going into the community park, which is kind of a focal point of the community itself. There's lots of opportunities in Warminster that also help make it a good community. There's lots of opportunities to play and to learn and create and worship and earn a living and things like that. I do think we could improve in our areas of employment. I think that we don't have enough larger businesses. And I think we could also have a more diverse culture and work to create that, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. And then I also, in line with the Ohio State extension of assessing a good community, we're a small town with plenty of activities, plenty of resources. This is a shot of one of the elementary schools in our district. This is the local community park here. So, again, overall, I believe that Warminster is a good community. I'm a little biased because I've lived here my whole life, but it does meet the criteria and a lot of the points set forth by the Ohio State extension. So, we have sufficient access to needed resources and things like that. This is actually a shot of where the military housing used to be before that Navy base closed. This is actually a runway that was used for planes, which I think is really cool and interesting, and now it's a park. So areas of improvement, I think we could have more employment opportunities. We don't have a lot of those in the community. It's a lot of smaller businesses, but not really a lot of major corporations that are key hiring, places that people go. And also more opportunities for diversity and culture. I would love to see a Pride event take place here in June. So I think we could, I would love to see more diversity in the community. It's primarily made up of Caucasian individuals. And then just assurance of access to clean water and continued practices to ensure that level of safety for people. And then this is my reference page. And this continues to this page and here. All right, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on my town.